Hey, I'm Tom Feldmann with PlayCountryBlues.com, and today I'm going to show you a brief run through on the CAGED system and how to use it. Now, the CAGED system is simply the idea that you only need to know chords C, A, G, E, and D to move up and down the fretboard. Now, what we can do is grab a C chord. The next inversion of C is going to be an A chord shape. The next one is going to be a G. The next one is going to be an E, and finally D, and then we start over again. So, as you've noticed, all we've done is spelt out CAGED. Whatever chord you are currently in, whatever shape that is, the next inversion of that chord, simply just spell out CAGED. So if we have an E chord, well, our next E chord is going to be a D-shaped chord. The next one would be a C, then an A, then a G. If we had a D chord, the next one would be C, A, G, so on and so forth. And you can do that on any position in the neck. Again, if we've got our C here at the 5th fret, out of this A position, I can go in either direction based on just using the spelling of CAGED. So if I'm here, I can go back to the C. There's that A. I can go up to the G. So that's how you move up and down the fretboard just using those first position chords. Now, you might be wondering, well, how do I know what frets to make those chord shapes? And how do I know where I'm going? Well, the easiest way is wherever the chord ends, and in this case this C, I'm looking at my C note here on that 5th string 3rd fret as the end of the chord, because that's going to be the beginning of the next inversion. So that's the beginning. So here in this A, this is where I've ended. That's going to be the beginning of the G. Here's the G end. That's the beginning of the E. So I'm looking at my hands, and wherever my chord ends, that's the beginning of the next inversion of that chord. And for me, what really helped early on to visualize where these chords are and visualize the chords themselves was to just simply think of that new beginning as a capo. So barring, barring is simply just using our first finger as a capo. And if I'm capoed here at the 3rd fret, well, 2 frets higher is where that A would be played, just because that's what we would do in first position. Again, if I'm capoed, here's my nut, this is my 1st, this is my 2nd fret now. That's now that C. And again, I'm kind of already capoed here for that G. And if this is where it ends, I would bar, which gives me my capo, then I'd make an E chord. And now I'm starting to see the first position chords. I'm not paying as much attention to that first finger. It's basically, for me, a capo, and now I'm looking at the chord shape that I'm making with my remaining fingers. So wherever you've ended, that's the beginning of the next chord shape. That is really the basics of the CAGED system and how to move it up and down the neck. Now, for me personally, in country blues, which is predominantly what I play, the shapes E, A, and D are what I use most often up and down the neck, and so those are my go-tos. I would recommend focusing on those 3 positions, the E, the A, the D, for each of the keys. Lock those in. The C and the G, we don't use a whole lot in country blues. However, they do come up, and a few things, just to push you a little bit forward. If I'm making a D chord, I have 3 notes here out of that C inversion. Strings 3, 2, and 1 are what I need to make that next inversion. So if I take this D and I make it like this, then that becomes more accessible. Keeping my hands like this, I can't grab the 4th and 5th easily that way. So I want to change my fingering. Now, again, if I grab this C, I'm already using strings 4, 3, 2. I need those covered. I need those open strings covered to make that G chord shape. So A and G are working together. All right, so that is the basics of the CAGED system. Now, it can be much more complex than that, and I've done a whole series using the CAGED system in country blues. It's called Shrinking the Fretboard, CAGED and Country Blues. You can find that at playcountryblues.com. Until next time, take care.